Hey, welcome to Draft Academy. My name is Mike. In this tutorial, I want to talk to you guys about using comments in C++. Now, comments are little special blocks of code which aren't actually going to get executed or rendered by C++. So a lot of times in your programs, you're going to want to, basically write things that are meant for human beings. So whenever we're writing programs, like whenever we're writing code or instructions, those instructions are meant for the computer. So I can tell the computer to print something out, or I can tell the computer to loop over a block of code or something like that. But a lot of times we're going to want to write out messages just for human beings. So either for yourself or for someone else. And we can do that using something called a comment. And I'm going to show you guys what comments are. Essentially, a comment is just a little line of code or a block of code that C++ is going to ignore. And therefore, we can use it to write little messages for ourselves. So in order to create a comment in C++, there's actually a couple ways we can do it. The first way is just to make 2 forward slashes. So when I make 2 forward slashes, you'll notice that when I start typing, all of this text is actually colored different than the text over here. That's because this is a comment. So any text that I put after these 2 forward slashes is going to be considered a comment, and it's not actually going to get rendered by C++. So even though I have a bunch of nonsense up here, I can still run my program and it's still going to be able to execute. So you'll see I can run the program and there's no errors. It's just printing out comments are fun. So this is a really great way to kind of write a little note. A lot of people will use this to write notes to themselves or maybe write notes to other developers. You can also use this to describe a line of code. So I could describe this line of code over here. I could say print out text, right? Obviously, you probably wouldn't need to describe this line, but if you had a complex function or complex loop or something like that, a comment could come in handy. You can also put these comments after a line of code, so I could just cut this out and paste it down here. And you'll see that everything that comes after these 2 forward slashes is going to be considered a comment, but I can still put code over here. And again, you could use this to describe what the line of code is doing or something like that. The one downside to this type of comment, though, is that it only works on one single line. So if I come down here to the new line, all of a sudden this goes back to normal text. So this is no longer a comment. If you want to have a long block of comments, though, you can use something called an opening and closing tag. So if I make a forward slash and an asterisk, then everything that comes after this, even if it's on a different line, is going to be considered a comment. So you can see all of this stuff is now a comment. But I can close this off by saying an asterisk and another forward slash. But now everything that's in between these 2 tags is going to be considered a comment. And these 2 types of comments are very common, and pretty much either one you use is going to be correct and is going to work out. So that's basically how the 2 types of comments and how you can use them. Another way that comments are useful is for commenting out lines of code. So a lot of times when you're working with your programs, maybe you want to try to run your program without a certain line of code. You might be running into a problem and you think a certain line of code is the culprit. Well, one option would be to just remove the line of code. So for example, let's say that this line of code was potentially messing up my program and I wanted to see how the program would act without that line of code. Well, I could just delete it, save the file, and then run the program, and now we're running the program without that line of code. The problem with that, though, is I have to physically delete the line of code, right? If I wanted, though, I could just put a comment in front of it, and now this entire line is going to get ignored by C++. So it's essentially the same as removing it, but we don't actually have to physically remove it from the file. It's still going to be there. We can still see it. We still know that it's there. It's just not going to get executed. So that's another useful way that comments can come in handy. So yeah, I think a lot of developers use comments, and you definitely want to take advantage of them in your programs when they're appropriate. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Draft Academy to be the first to know when we release new content. Also, we're always looking to improve, so if you have any constructive criticism or questions or anything, leave a comment below. Finally, if you're enjoying Draft Academy and you want to help us grow, head over to draftacademy.com/contribute and invest in our future.